All right, guys, how's it going? So, in this video, we're going to be talking about the latest article from Paul Joyce at the Times regarding the contractual situations of various players at Liverpool Football Club. Now, for those of you that are new to my YouTube channel, Paul Joyce is the most connected journalist to the people that run Liverpool Football Club on a day-to-day basis, right? Paul Joyce at the Times, David Ornstein at The Athletic, they are the only two journalists when they write about Liverpool Football Club that you need to pay attention to, right? The rest are way below them. We call them the LFC clique. They all agree with each other. They all chime in at the same time, usually piggybacking on what Ornstein or Joyce has to say. We also listen to Fabrizio Romano. Mo Salah! Some people still don't understand why we do that. It doesn't matter. We also listen to Fabrizio Romano because he's obviously built up an extensive network of sources over the years, especially agents, and he can really influence the valuations of players. He can get players better deals. So you have to be cautious with what Fabrizio Romano says. There are allegations that he, allegedly takes money for certain things. There's an article on the front page of www.coptalk.com. It's here if you want to go and look at that, and it does mention the Fabrizio Romano allegations in that article. But we're not bothered about that, right? So me personally, Paul Joyce, Ornstein, David Ornstein, and Fabrizio, for the entertainment value. The rest, I'm not interested in what any of them have got to say. So Joyce is close to is the closest journalist to the people that run the club on a day-to-day basis. Ornstein is also connected to the people that run the club on a day-to-day basis, but he's also connected to the big cheese within FSG in Boston. All right, so they're the two. Ornstein, if he says something about investment, club sale, you pay specific attention to him because he's definitely in the ear of a John Henry and co. All right, so there's just a little bit of difference between those two, but they're the only two you need to listen to. So when Paul Joyce publishes something, especially Paul Joyce here, all right, I really read what he's got to say over and over again, right? Because what I say around these parts on a consistent basis is when these articles come out, I always ask myself, why am I reading this? Whose benefit is this for? Who does it help? Who wants it out there, etc., etc. And that's what I've done with this article, is examine it to see what's being said, right? Okay, well, maybe that's a bit obvious, but I'll explain as we go through the article because I probably don't make much sense at the moment. So, Liverpool closing on new deals for Jarrell Quansah and Ibrahima Konate. Well, that's not really what we as Liverpool fans want to hear at the moment. This is positive news normally, right? Obviously Konate is an exceptionally valuable member of the squad, as Rafa Benitez would say, for sure, squad. And Quansah is expected to play a much bigger role next season. But that's not who we want to hear about. We want to know about Trent Alexander-Arnold. We want to know about Mo Salah. We want to know about Virgil van Dijk, right? So why are we hearing this? Is Joyce just informing us because that's his job? Or is there a message behind the article? So talks are underway to extend the contracts of the two defenders, but the club is still at an impasse with Mohamed Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Virgil van Dijk. Now, we're going to go through this article and then there might be a couple of other videos that are related to this video. The reason I'll split it into a few is because otherwise this will probably be about an hour long in duration. So let's just try and focus on the article for now. So basically, it would be wrong of me to read the entire article in full, okay? So basically he's saying that Quansah is close to agreeing a new long-term contract and talks are also underway with Konate regarding an extension. Blah, blah, blah. He goes on to talk about, what those players have done so far. Blah, blah, blah. Negotiations with Konate are at a preliminary stage. But the will is there to extend his present deal. So that's positive, right? That's good feedback coming from the Canate camp. Now, so the developments are welcome, right? Although at the same time, will not distract from the continued impasse with Van Dijk, Salah, and Alexander-Arnold. Now, we haven't really heard of the word being used as an impasse yet, really, have we, in regards to the contract situation of those three key players? We've not heard the word impasse. I think impasse is quite a strong word when it comes to contract negotiations. It means there's a problem, right? And we'll look at the exact definition of that in a moment for you, okay? We know what it means, but I had a look. I was at the cafe this morning, typing up the news article. I know what impasse means, but I still looked it up. I was like, I just want to really understand what Joyce is saying here, right? So in fact, let's do that now. Define impasse, all right? A situation in which no progress is possible, right? A situation, contract negotiations, in which no progress is possible. It's not possible, right? Especially because of a disagreement or deadlock. In other words, it ain't happening, right? So impasse is a very strong word to use. And we haven't seen it mentioned. I haven't seen it mentioned. And what's interesting is Paul Joyce in this article says the continued impasse, like we've heard about this for a long time. Well, I haven't heard about it a long time. So it's really strengthening this, emphasizing this, should I say. Okay. So there has been contact between the club and the representatives of all three players, but talks have not found common ground, right? Now, to me, it's obvious that talks have been ongoing for some time, and it's obvious that things are not getting anywhere quickly, right? You would agree with that, right? Because we haven't seen any real positives. So it's obvious that, people are happy to see it drawn out or whatever. I've always been of the opinion that the Trent Alexander-Arnold camp are happy for it to drag out as long as possible to see if Real Madrid do step up. We'll be talking about them today. That's not just an opinion, that's being fed to me, okay? So what he also says in this article, oh dear me, this is an important bit, and again, I'll be talking about this in another video. The situation, one inherited by the sporting director, Richard Hughes, is far from ideal, okay? That's something we're going to be talking about in another video. Inherited the problem, all right? This doesn't wash with me because, with Edwards, the CEO of football for FSG, which of course he also oversees Liverpool Football Club as well, and Richard Hughes as a sporting director. They've been at the club for a while now, okay? But we're going to talk about that in another video. So the rest of the article is just blurb, filling bits in here and there, telling us about the players, the situation, blah, blah, blah. So the key points that we need to look at here is the impasse, right? There's an impasse, a continued impasse, deadlock, no way to move forward at the moment from all three players. Now, my initial feelings with that, when I hear that, is like, when I saw that this morning, I was like, do you know what? I'm sick of hearing about it already, right? If you don't want to play for us, go on for just defensive straight away. But you don't know if the club under this shower, right, are taking the piss. You just don't know, right? And it's strange, isn't it? That all three of them are like, no. Do you know what I mean? And I do think that when we're seeing continuous references to inherited this problem, is already defending Richard Hughes should things go pear-shaped, all right? And that's a specific video that I advise you watch after this one. So impasse, things are not progressing. I can imagine that many of you today are a little bit concerned by this. Paul Joyce wrote that article, and he was accused of clickbait, which I thought was funny because I don't know how people could accuse him of clickbait, because it literally says in the post that he put on X who the two players were, regarding the contract developments and, being close to deals. So I'm not quite sure how any numpty could accuse him of clickbait. But my opinion is that, as I always say to you, why am I reading this? For me, there is an absolute reason for the article being published. I don't think it is to inform the fans of the news. He's a journalist; that's his job, right? I really think that Joyce is helping the likes of Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards here. And you might say, why? Well, if you think about it, how does it make you feel if the club, right? Because the message in the article is the club are trying to extend their contracts, but the players don't want to sign the contracts. So who does it help? I think the message that Joyce is giving here helps the likes of Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, because we're trying to sign them, but they won't sign. All right, so that can win fan support, I think. Hey, the club are trying to do this, So if they didn't sign, for example, or if one of them leaves or something like that, the top Reds will be out saying the club did everything they could to keep them. All right, so I think that article kind of helps the people running the club a little bit. However, those of us that don't get brainwashed like that, I'm sure will be thinking, hang on a minute, like, why are these three key players all at deadlock? Like, why are all three of them refusing to move on whatever's happening? So that's clearly they're not being offered what they want. So some of us might say, well, is the club taking the piss here? Do you know what I mean? So if you feel kind of like a little bit agitated by the response of the players here, like I did, like I said, my first reaction when I read it was like, do you know what? I'm fucking sick of hearing about this. If you don't want to play, but then I was like, hang on a minute, you don't know if someone's taking the piss here, and I'm more inclined to go with the taking the piss, because first of all, for example, Virgil van Dijk, he's your captain, right? What sort of signal or message is it sending to the other players that the club isn't turning around to your skipper and saying, there's a blank piece of paper there, fill the bits in, tell us what you want and we'll sort it? Because that's what Liverpool Football Club used to operate like, prior to this structure, prior to this ownership, if you like, or certainly in recent years. Your captain was like, what do you want, right? And how many times in the past did you hear people like Jamie Carragher say, I didn't even need to look at the contract, I just wanted to sign? So if those players are really at an impasse here and really are deadlocked, then there's something adrift, in my opinion. Now, I'm only a commentator. I'm only giving, my opinion. I analyze everything for you. I think you should watch my other videos today. If I touch on these things, I will do. There's a couple of things that I want to mention. We're already at 13 minutes. So I don't want to pan this video out too long. So, I'm only giving opinion on, putting ideas in your head, and you think about them and you come up with your own opinions and form your own judgments, right? And I welcome your comments on this video as to what you think. I mean, are you like me when you first say this and go, I'm sick of hearing about it? To be honest with you, the Trent Alexander-Arnold one, I'm sick of hearing more than anything, because I feel like this could be totally unfair, but just from bits I've heard and about willing to stall it out, stall the situation out and let it go further and further, I just feel like there's maybe a bit of piss take going on with that one from the players' camp. Maybe, I don't know, right? Whereas the two other players, the more senior players, the next deal they get really has to be right for them. Although you could argue, well, they're already minted or whatever. But if it's that stage of your career, you want to make sure your last contract's right. I mean, they probably will move on to somewhere else at some point. But I think it's got to be right for them, and especially in terms of the way they feel, opportunity and things like that. But the Trent situation, I don't know. I find that one just aggravates me a little bit more each time I keep hearing about it, because I don't know. I just feel like that we are being mugged off a little bit with that one. Although if he signs and everything, I think we'll all be told that it was never a problem. It was, I'm committed, blah, 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 all this nonsense. So I'm not sure I've done a good job with the video, to be honest with you. I had so much to say when I was typing up the news article, but it'll come to me. I think the message in this video, the reason for this video, is just to stress about this impasse and how Joyce is saying continued impasse. Like, oh, we've known about it for ages, when really we haven't. I genuinely think that this particular article by Joyce is being done as a favour for the club. We need this message out there. The situation that Richard Hughes inherited, it's not his problem, it's not his fault. He inherited it, and I've seen that a lot recently. I'm going to mention that to you in the next video. So And my own personal thoughts, yeah, first of all, I'm like, I'm sick of hearing about it. Just why don't you all just fuck up? Do you know what I mean? But then I'm thinking, no, this sounds like we might be taking the piss a little bit. So that's it. I don't know if it's a good video or not. You don't really need to read the article, because what I've told you is the key points here. Yes, it's good news about Quansah and Kanate, of course. But it's a very strange article, I feel. And the timing of it, I think it gets put out there. It makes other players look like they're trying to do their bit. But these other 3 contracts are a lot more difficult, I think, than the likes of those 2 players. But I can't but help feel that the article is being put out to help the likes of Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, and to maybe make the players look like they're not being fair or something. But before reaching that judgment, I would urge you to ask yourself, hang on, though, is the club taking the piss here? We don't know. I'll be the first one to put my hands up and say, I don't know. No one's talking, no one's saying anything behind the scenes or anything like that. But I do feel that you need to watch my next video about Richard Hughes inheriting the situation. All right, guys, so I'll leave that with you. I would really welcome your feedback on this. I mean, if you just read the article and see nothing, you know what I mean? You just say, oh no, it's just an informative article, Dunk. Or would you agree with me that I think there's a reason for the article? I mean, there's not always a conspiracy theory. You know what I mean? There's not always something. But just, we know that Joyce is exceptionally close to Edwards and also Hughes now, all right? And this isn't just a journalist doing his job. This is a man that has also got, not just a professional relationship, but a good relationship with them as well. And I think the proof is there when you read a lot of Joyce's articles by the pro-Edwards, pro-Hughes commentary. I mentioned that in the article on coptalk.com today. So if I've not made sense in this video, just go and have a quick look at the article. It's not very long. But it is very pro. Well, the article's not very pro, but there are pro references, like, inherited, the situation. Liverpool trying to do everything they can to get these players, but it's deadlocked. There's an impasse that they don't want to sign. So why don't they want to sign? That's the question. All right, so I'll leave that with you. I'm going to stop this video, upload this video. I'm going to continue talking about a couple of things that I think we need to discuss. That'll be to do with Trent, Real Madrid, Mo Salah, some other claims surrounding him, Richard Hughes. There'll be a number of videos that I'd like you to cast your eyes over today. If you can, I'll try and keep them as brief as possible for you. Remember to sign up for the newsletter. I nearly did a newsletter today, I didn't, so I'll probably do it tomorrow. The newsletter is highly recommended by the people that read it. It's completely free. There's no advertising in it or anything like that. Your email address is safe. It's very easy. The link is in the video description on here. You'll see it. Just jump on it, put your email in. Because I think when I do the written stuff and the newsletter, I spend quite a lot of time doing it and thinking about things. Whereas with a video, sometimes I'm all over the place. I forget what I'm talking about. All right. So if you appreciate the video, please thumbs up the video. Please do leave me a comment on this one. I think it's important. And if you want to buy me a beer or a coffee, please hit the super thanks button, the love heart under the video, and that would be much appreciated. There's other ways to support me in the video description, but also in the video description, as well as the newsletter, is the chat room and my social media links where you can interact with me. All right, guys, I'll leave that with you. I will be paying specific attention to your comments. I do on every video. I read every comment, but I really want to see what you guys are thinking about this article. I really do. And if you've maybe seen anything or noticed anything in that article that maybe I've just overlooked in this video. All right, guys, thanks a lot. I'll speak to you soon.